Chief Rollins, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Daddy, roll call, please. Trustee Thorne, here. Trustee Michaels.
Here.
Trustee White.
Here.
Trustee Lundy. Here. Trustee Herring.
Here.
Trustee Bonnie.
Here.
Trustee Shulman. Everyone is present. We do have a quorum this evening. Nothing under public hearing, appointments and presentations. We do have a presentation from Meredith Krantz with Krantz Strategy on Communications, Present and Future. So Meredith, if you would come up and join us.
Okay, we'll jump right in. So thanks for that introduction. So we'll be reviewing a communications channel strategy that we've been working on over the past month. We're going to start by taking a look at just different ways that we're currently working on, different approaches we're considering to keep our residents informed and engaged. So I just want to reiterate, this is a chance for everybody to get involved, to share your insights on just different ways that residents are looking for that engagement so that we can stay informed. So we'll start by looking at our audience, and so just a clear understanding of who we're communicating with. So Tracy, if we could go to the next slide here. Well, I've got the clicker, so that's on me. Thank you. So to communicate effectively, we need a clear understanding of our audience.
Doesn't work.
Look on the side, it might not be on.
Okay, we'll try again. Thank you. Okay, so we'll be looking at just some census data and other information that will help just kind of show where our residents are now. So we know we've got about 4,600 households in a population of just over 9,200. Again, this comes from our recent census figures. We're going to dive into our age demographics on the next slide. But some key highlights here, just noting that we've got 96% of households have computers and 98% have broadband internet, just showing that high level of digital readiness. Okay, so this next slide breaks down just the various age groups within the village and preferences based on those age groups. So we've got children and teens making up about 27% of our population. We know that they're not directly engaging with a lot of communication. They often rely on parents and their schools for updates. Young adults, that's the age range between 18 and 34, make up about 11% of our population. They are digitally connected. They favor mobile and online resources. We've got adults age 35 to 54. They're a big chunk of our population, almost 30%. They're likely to include many professionals, parents, homeowners who balance digital and traditional communication. Middle-aged adults, that's the age range 55 to 64. They're at about 12%. They consume a mix of digital and traditional media. We've got our seniors and retirees who are 65 and up. They're at about 21% of our current population. We know that they traditionally prefer traditional communication, so printed communication, but they're increasingly active on digital platforms. We'll show some more data on that activity as we move on. So we're going to start by looking at just current channel performance and who we're reaching on we'll start with Facebook. And so these numbers, what you're seeing here is, since January 1st of 2024, Facebook has seen some strong engagement with 4.7 thousand followers. That's a 10% growth over the past year. We've reached over 113,000 people, generating 84,000 visits. Facebook, in this case, when you were looking at on the screen, the data pulled from our current activity. So we know that it's effective in reaching adults, particularly middle-aged individuals, although it is less effective for our younger adults. There's a gap here, as you'll note, with children and teens, who are about 27% of the population, but represent less than 5% of our users on Facebook. Likewise, we've got seniors who make up 21% of the population, but they're less represented on Facebook here, so with less than 10% You'll also note here some of the demographics that we're able to pull, looking at just the ratio of men to women. We know that women are also more active on Facebook. So next, we'll just take a look at our website metrics over the past year. It's another key communication tool that the village uses to reach residents. Over the past year, we've had 111,000 visits. We're averaging about 9,200 visits per month, with the average monthly page view of 17,500. So we know that each person who visits the village page is visiting at least 2 pages during their visit. So if I click to the home page, I'm going to at least one other page on our website to get information. So a lot of people, I think this is what this is telling us, is that people are using the website as that home base of information. They are seeing it as the primary source of information. But as we know, one of the biggest challenges that we face in making sure a community actually knows what's, we want the village to actually know what the village, or the constituents to know what the village is actually doing. So I'm sure you've had many of your constituents kind of come to you and say they were unaware about key projects or updates that we're actively working on. So this is where we're looking to add layers of communication to make sure that we're reaching everybody, especially some of those harder to reach age groups that we talked about. So in marketing, there's a rule of 7 that you have to reach a message 7 times before you're motivated to act or before you retain that information. And so it's one thing to have something on our website, it's another having it on Facebook, but it really takes multiple touch points to make sure that the message is getting through, or that an event, somebody's actually able to retain information about an upcoming event or an upcoming project. And so what we want to make sure that we're doing is having multiple touch points with residents. And so we'll be looking to kind of fill those gaps and have more touch points using Instagram. So we're looking, at Instagram as a great way of engaging our younger residents, age 18 to 29. We'll be able to engage them in a new way that resonates with them. We're also looking at e-newsletters that will be providing a reliable, comprehensive news source. We're looking, we'll get into more detail on that, but something that's put out regularly with upcoming events throughout the community, as well as including a direct mail newsletter that's especially important for reaching, middle-aged adults and seniors who are less active online. So again, we're just looking to have these multiple layers so that we're sure we're reaching everybody with the information that they need to stay informed. So next we're looking at our Instagram strategy. And so this is something we're looking to launch this month. But we want to use Instagram as a visual storytelling tool to boost community engagement, really showcasing life in the village. And so this morning we had a meeting with the Village Enhancement Committee, and they're going to be helping us curate content, looking at other organizations within the village that we can feature on Instagram. Again, this is something that's going to be connected to our Facebook account, but an added layer with more visual content. And so we'll also be identifying some internal staff who can help gather photos and videos to help us keep this platform fresh and current. So we're also looking at having, photo contests for this Instagram account. So something like a quarterly photo contest where we can help just continue to showcase what it's like to live and enjoy living in Sugar Grove. So next we're looking at this e-newsletter with all of the information that's going out on social media, looking to make sure that we're populating that in a consistent e-newsletter. So something that residents can sign up for. It's pretty cost effective. We're looking at, for the number of subscribers that we're looking for, it's between $35 and $50 a month. But we'll be able to send it out 2 to 3 times a month with all of the information that we're putting on our website, on social media. We'll be able to include that in our e-newsletter. And we're also looking to our other organizations, whether it's nonprofits or local taxing bodies, who have upcoming events or information that they want out to the public. We want to make sure that we're including that in our e-newsletter. And so it's a great way of making sure that all of the information that's relevant to Sugar Grove is making it to our residents and giving them something valuable that they can open with this e-newsletter. So it's just, I think it'll help position the village as that trusted center source of information. Next, we are looking at developing a direct mail newsletter for every household. I think this is just, it's an important way of keeping all residents informed. We want to reach every household, including those who are less active online. We can't assume that everybody is checking their Facebook page or visiting the village website. And so, there's just another reliable layer of that communication. So we'll be making sure that it gets to every household. So then those are what's in progress, I guess, over the next 2 to 3 months. What's next on our horizon, we are also looking at including, LinkedIn for development and job postings, so we can share job opportunities or highlight, local development projects. We've got Twitter, would be a tool that we can use for real-time alerts. We can provide immediate news alerts and emergency notifications. We're looking at Hootsuite to include some unified postings so that if something's out on one channel, we're able to cross-promote that on all social media channels. And something that would be longer term as we grow, just looking at an app that can be a central hub of information as well. Something that would be dedicated to the village of Sugar Grove. It would be a one-stop shop resource for every activity going on within the village. Could provide access to town events, news, local services, and other alerts in one place. And so we are starting, to explore what that app could look like. So with that, I just want to pause. I know there was a lot we just went through. Interested in questions, comments, feedback on this approach.
Thanks, Meredith. Please chime in if you have thoughts or questions for her.
Yeah, I like the idea, I like the concept. I like broadening the different channels. I like the strategy of messaging across the age ranges and how people consume the information differently. LinkedIn, I was glad you brought that up, right? So I know it's fallen out of favor in certain circumstances, but there is a small and dedicated group of individuals, professional individuals, that use that. And what sort of information would they like to see? Well, articles on maybe the way that our police department is utilizing information and IT services for data storage. That might be different than what other communities are using, right? That might be an opportunity to share and broadcast stuff like that there. Maybe a dumb example might not even apply, but just as we do it all the time on LinkedIn, it's not just a job posting forum at all. I used to publish a whole lot on there when I was working with my previous jobs, just talking about the product that we were doing and the services that we were providing as well. I like the idea of having Instagram profile as well. I'm surprised that Twitter/X was left off, but I know that is falling out of favor from a lot of different people, for a lot of different groups for various different reasons. Not the least of which that it's just become the wild, wild west for disinformation as well. I know Facebook's gotten that way as well too, but that's my take on it.
Thank you.
Are other communities on Instagram that you know?
Yeah, there are many local communities on Instagram that we have been kind of researching for best practices. Geneva, St. Charles, a lot of those in the Kane County area are active.
And then with the direct marketing or direct mail newsletter, will be partnership with other taxing bodies like the township and other taxing bodies to cut our costs and help them promote themselves, or I would encourage it.
I know that the village has done that in the past. We have to get with Tom because they are sending out their own currently. So just a matter of how big that newsletter gets and what we're trying to put out. But we can definitely reach out to them. Who else did it in the past besides Tom?
Library, park district, fire
So
district,
everybody did it together.
and community house.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
The idea of an app can be really scary, that it might be expensive, but there's really cheap ways of doing it, at least to do an initial rollout or launch on a mobile view of our own website. It's just it's nothing more than disguising our webpage as just another avenue to get in on it. But you can create a separate webpage, a hidden webpage that's just viewable through the app. Well, Scott, this is nothing you don't know. But yeah, that's believe it or not, it's a very low cost of entry to do something like that.
That's good to hear. Any other board feedback or questions for Meredith? So just in the discussions that we've had with her, obviously, we've talked about it here, but really the focus is that demographic and getting information out to everyone. And I'd like to put myself in the majority of the category as to how we receive information from whether it be the schools or the village or whatever that needs may be, and the influx of emails that we all receive on a regular basis. And so a lot of this is targeted toward, you know, hearing from the senior population saying, I wish I had a newspaper still. I wish this stuff would all be put in the newspaper. So I think the newsletter kind of captures them, right? You're trying to capture the younger through the Instagram. There's still a lot of users on Facebook. So I feel like it does a good job of trying to promote the village and get information out to everyone. If there's other things that you think we should be doing, obviously you saw in the presentation that there was a cost associated with the mailer, the direct mail piece, so we can talk about that at budget time. But hopefully by that time we have more information from the other taxing bodies on whether they would like to partner on that cost share. So, thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Okay, up next we have public comment on scheduled action items. So I have quite a few in my list this evening. Under consent agenda, we have A, approval of the minutes of October 1st, 2023 board meeting. B, approval of the minutes of the October 15th, 2024 board meeting. C, approval of the vouchers. D, approval of the 2025 village meeting schedule. E, a resolution setting a policy and procedures for mailbox reimbursement. F, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with STA Enterprises for well 9 roof replacement. Item G, a resolution approving an IGA with Illinois Emergency Management Mutual Aid. Item H, a resolution approving King County Animal Control Contract. Item I, resolution declaring surplus items. That is our consent agenda. Under general business this evening, we have item A, an ordinance, Aurora Airport Community Solar 1 Special Use Extension. Item B, an ordinance for Aurora Airport Community Solar 2 Special Use Extension. Item C, a resolution, final plat of subdivision for Area 5 and 6 in Settlers Ridge. Item D, an ordinance amending Plan Development District Areas 5 and 6 in Settlers Ridge. Item E, a resolution, Area 5 and 6 architectural approval for Settlers Ridge. Item F, a resolution, formal objection to Kane County rezoning Camping Road. Item G, resolution, PSA for Phase 2 engineering, Illinois 47 and Park Ave intersection improvements. And that's all I have under items scheduled for action this evening. So if anybody would like to make a public comment on any of those items, you have 3 minutes, and we will have you step to the podium. I don't think there's a list of anybody that wants to speak on these items. Going once, going twice, 3 times. We will close that public comment. Okay. Any requests to remove an item from consent agenda?
Item D, village meeting schedule.
Sure. Any other items? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as previously stated with the exception of item D?
As stated, please.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
First out of trustee Shomas, second out of trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee Vine?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Herron?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, trustee Michaels, item D.
Just wanted to check with staff, Matt in particular, if we eliminate the April 1st meeting, are we still able to have enough meetings to go through the budget, the different workshops, and get the necessary?
Yeah, we're actually probably going to be approving it the meeting before in March. We actually pushed everything above the last 2 years, so we started in February. So we'll have 3 meetings to approve it, and even if it does not approve on March, we have April 15th to still approve it again prior to the deadline of May 1st.
Okay, all right.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to approve item D as previously stated?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first out of trustee Michaels, a second out of trustee Shomas. Roll call, please, Maddie.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Shomans?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee Herron?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 6-0. Okay, up next, under general business, we have an ordinance for the airport, Aurora Airport Community Solar 1 Special Use Extension. Dan?
Okay, before you, is my board report. We have received a request from Mr. Kramer on behalf of Suncode LLC for an extension of the special use permit that was granted for the property off of Dugan Road, known as Community Solar 1. They are finding in their process that the reviews from the FAA are taking longer than they expected, and they're very involved. And they don't anticipate being able to apply and receive their building permit by their deadline of April 16th, 2025. So they're requesting for a 6-month extension to the deadline of their special use permit from the April 16th date.
Thank you, Danny. Are there any questions?
I'm sure the future farmers of America would be offended if they were included. Do we really think the FAA is gonna get back in time?
Well, we
Because
can
it looks like we can only extend it twice.
We can extend it twice, but only at 6 months at a time.
Okay. They
So
were
they'll
gonna be
be back
extending it
if
a
they
second
can,
time.
so-
I'm just letting you know,
Yeah.
we're gonna extend it a second time.
Yes, Mr. Kramer is here if you have questions.
I was going to say, Mr. Kramer, do you have any additional information on the FAA and timetable?
Dan Kramer for the record, not Danielle, but close. In any event, they gave us a timeline that the earliest we would hear would be 6 months to your comments, which would put us 2 months before April, but we figured in an abundance of caution, get the 6 months ahead now and not come in at the last minute and say, hey, could you do this tomorrow?
Thank you.
Thanks.
So they think they're going to hear back prior to the April, but this is just a...
Expect them to be late, just saying.
He's so optimistic.
Yeah, and I think, didn't it take years for them to give those baseball fields to the park district? So, yeah, it takes time.
Any other concerns or questions or comments on this item? I made a note on this. I don't know that it matters, trustee Bonnie, that you did the last packet, actually recuse yourself. I don't know if you need to. There's no, Laura can comment on that. There's nothing that says you need to, but you did on the last vote.
Let's keep it the same. Yeah, enough.
Make a motion to approve.
For the motioner.
I have a motion to approve item A as previously stated.
Second.
I was gonna-
Additional comments.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, I still view this as a safety issue, and I still don't agree that it's the right thing to do, and so.
Thank you, trustee Lundy. So I have a first out of trustee White and a second out of trustee Herron. Roll call, please.
Trustee White?
No.
Trustee Herron?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
No.
Trustee Shomans?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2. Thank you. Item B, the ordinance for Aurora Airport Community Solar Number 2 Special Use Extension, same thing.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first out of trustee White, a second out of trustee Herron. Roll call, please, Maddie.
Trustee White?
No.
Trustee Herron?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
No.
Trustee Bonnie?
Abstain.
Trustee
He's
Shomans?
recused. I think you, sorry, go ahead.
Trustee Shomans?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 3.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item C, resolution, final plat of subdivision for area 5 and 6 and 7 Bridge. Danny.
At the previous meeting, the final set of subdivision for Settlers Ridge areas 5 and 6 was discussed. There were concerns expressed by the board, also Settlers Ridge HOA. So the applicants have revised the final plats of subdivision. I've outlined those revisions in your board report. And staff is recommending approval of the attached resolution subject to attorney review and village engineer approval. We have the applicants present tonight. If you have any questions for them, they're here to answer.
I'd also like to ask Kevin to come on up. He's the developer who wasn't at the prior meeting, so if you have any questions specifically, you certainly can ask.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you just take a moment to introduce yourself just so the board is
Sure.
aware.
Sure. My name is Kevin Braun. I am the developer for Washington Homes at Settlers Ridge. We previously had 60 or 70 lots in the previous areas of Settlers Ridge and are looking to develop areas 5 and 6 and beyond to complete the community and the eventual connection down to Arbor.
Thank you. Any discussion from the board on the additional changes that were made? And I think you all just received two tonight. You received a memo from Settlers Ridge HOA that you should have. That was written by the chair of the Community Development Settlers Ridge Association.
So is it my understanding from this that the HOA is in agreement with this plat, final plat of subdivision?
Dave, you could, yes, if you could please address the board as well. So sorry, we inviting the whole family up to the podium.
Well, just to introduce myself, Dave Sexauer, president of Settlers Ridge HOA. Yes, in summary, based on the letter that we're saying, we are definitely in support of the revision as outlined. So this is, yes.
I appreciate something
Okay.
very important.
If I could, I would just say that working with Kevin and his team since the last meeting, we've been very impressed. They have been very receptive to our feedback. We sincerely appreciate the work that they have done to take our residents' concerns into consideration. And definitely wanted to verbalize that today, that they do have our full support with this. We're hoping that we're looking for unanimity among the board from the village as well. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any trustee comments with the revision?
So what exactly were the changes? Can you itemize
Yeah.
what was done? At a high level, give me about 5 or 6 main bullet points.
You have the floor, absolutely.
Thank you. So we came in with 5-foot side yard setbacks. And so we eliminated all those. That went over not so good. So we eliminated all those, and we took Coneflower and Isabel, all the lots that face the existing homes, and we made those all 7.5 feet on both sides. In addition to that, we limited the width of the homes on most of those lots to 40 feet. So the lots are 60, 62 feet. So let's just take a 62 footer. The lot's 40 feet, leaves 22 feet, gives us 11 feet on each side, or 22 feet between the homes in this example. Then throughout the entire community, we put restrictions on some of the lots so that you will have sometimes a 50-foot home on a 62-foot lot, leaving you 6 feet on either side. And that would be next to, in one of the examples, a 40-foot lot, a 40-foot home on a 62-foot lot, leaving 22 feet, leaving 11 feet on each side. So on, let's just say lot number 1, you'd have 11 feet on each side. Lot number 2, you'd have 6 feet on each side, leaving 17 feet between the homes in that example. So we took all the 5 foots, eliminated them, made everything along Coneflower, Isabel, 7.5 foot on each side, and all the other lots we made at 6 feet. That was one item we did. We took, as I said, we took the lot restrictions so that we can sort of sprinkle in 2-car garage and 3-car garages, so to have that separation. We did that. One of the things that the HOA had requested is some of the outlots have become somewhat problematic to maintain. So we absorbed those into corner lots, making those lots much larger, and also taking the burden off of the HOA from a maintenance standpoint. We also have also created a boulevard so that the trees will be, the streets will be tree lined. We created that. We also added a berm in a mounding, if you will, by the train tracks. We also added connectivity. Connectivity became a little bit problematic, so what we did is we took a meandering trail that connect from Jones the whole way to the undeveloped portion of the property, so that it can continue through the other areas as they get developed down the road. And then we also gave some access points to the roads so that you don't have to walk through prairie to get to the paths. And then we kind of gave them some contour so they weren't just straight paths. The connectivity had some thought to it. And in addition to that, we have a 8-foot, that was a 10-foot bike path. And then an 8-foot bike path is on Parkside. So Parkside Drive will have an 8-foot bike path that continues what we're calling kind of the Parkside Boulevard. So the Parkside Boulevard will have the outlots still in place because they will be lined with trees on the streets. And then the 10-foot bike path, as I said, would be down by Henry. And that will be between Henry and the new mounding berm that we've created on the north side of the railroad tracks. The screening berm, we're developing that as it goes. We're making it larger and taller and spreading it out as much as we can with the additional dirt material that we have on site. So that will, eventually be grass. We've already covered it, soiled it, seeded it to get it to start to germinate and grow before winter. But that will also grow when we're finishing the development itself. Did I forget anything that we changed?
I think that covers it.
Kevin, that area is HOA, right? Will that be HOA, that
Yes.
property where the berming is
Yes.
and the grass? And
Yes.
you'll maintain it?
Yes.
Are you, as a developer, going to maintain that area and mow that area until a certain completion?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And the other thing I had a question was the boulevard that is, the green space that's being incorporated in the lots on Settlers Boulevard on the end caps. What does that look like for uniformity in landscape? I mean, obviously, it's someone's personal property now, so I don't know if the HOA cares or doesn't care that there's a certain type of landscape on the boulevard. Once that property is incorporated into someone's personal property, you're not dictating landscape at that point, unless it is part of the initial planting.
Oh, one more thing that I forgot to mention that we did change, we did add, is we added an amenity. We received some feedback that it would be nice to have an area of landscape with some picnic tables and some park benches and some trees. And so one of the outlots, we created an amenity in that area. So that was one of the other things that we did add.
Where is that, the plan?
Lot
Sweet parcels.
one, lot 1, I think, and lot 12 are the two that you call.
12,
Oh, there it is. Okay,
5, and 12.
got it. All right.
It probably depends on which one exhibit you're looking at.
Okay.
The exhibit that's attached to the PDD amendment, the lot numbering is off because it has been revised.
I'm looking at the final plat amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
Next one. It looks like it's 5 and 12.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry, Dave, did you have
That's okay.
thoughts on the landscaping on the boulevard?
Yes, so In regards to when we have somebody's property line that ends up adjacent to HOA property, we've had similar situations in the past that we have dealt with in terms of the aesthetic standards of the neighborhood. We've had it where certain people's landscaping only go to a certain threshold within the HOA property. We've actually had incidents where people have encroached that and we've had to go back. But our intent is to keep that green space open and free. It's not going to be prairie. For example, a lot of our HOA land is prairie. But there are some aesthetic standards that we can maintain that go along that line. Of course, it's going to be a continual thing where we make sure residents are aware. A similar part of this is for anybody that is on water where we have HOA land that has the prairie land surrounding the water. We have very clear rules on from your property line, how much you can mow if prairie land is encroaching into your property, for et cetera, or if HOA land is encroaching in yours. So we have already a standard that we could follow and apply to these zones.
So I guess my question is more to Brad, is it just an easement, and that's like the parkway, if we're putting parkway trees in on that road? I don't see a sidewalk, and I know I thought I did.
So it's like a trail.
Is it the, I don't know which exhibit it was on.
Page 52, I think maybe the bike path exhibit, the purple. The next path.
Yeah.
Page 52, there you go, the one below the green, there you go, that one.
So I have it on page 52 of this exhibit, which is the PDD, 5 and 6 PDD amendment. So is there not a sidewalk on Settlers Boulevard?
There are sidewalks on Settlers,
Okay.
but just standard sidewalks.
Okay, not an 8-foot.
Right,
Okay, just
correct.
sidewalk. So then I guess my question is, it's a side yard on that street frontage, is it parkway trees? That is the only landscape plan at that point? Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, on the lots that abut Settlers Boulevard, are we gonna want driveways coming out onto Settlers? So I think we want a plat restriction saying no direct access from those lots to Settlers Boulevard.
So no side load coming off Settlers, which would be lot 94,
94, 72.
72, 70.
71 is it? And 54.
No, 71 doesn't, quite has access because of the.
Because it has a separate parcel next to it.
Parcel 5.
Oh, yes, correct.
And then do we have any issue with that on Henry? On the south, I don't.
You have it on Park side, no, that's a separate parcel there.
Well, Parkside looks fine, 'cause
Yeah.
it's got the separate parcels. So
Yeah.
there's the 3 that are up on Settlers, I don't necessarily have an issue.
Lot
with the
54, did you say lot 54 already?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's those 3. But I'm basically asking the question of the board, what about down on the south end on Henry?
Correct.
Does anybody have an issue with
I do.
that? Access to Henry?
I don't think they should have access.
Why? It's just.
Well, I think it creates, the whole subdivision has continuity with frontage, parkway trees, you know, the front porches, and all their drive aisles are hidden through the alleys. And so in this case, we would then be exposing drives on the boulevard, the street facing that are supposed to be landscaped and homes. And,
Is Henry gonna do something like that? I mean,
well, Henry's gonna continue, I would imagine, isn't it? in the
Finish
future?
comes around the.
Yes.
Doesn't it?
In the future.
Yes.
Same way it is there now?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
What's the HOA want? Are they okay with side loads on those properties?
It was our understanding that they would not be.
Okay.
We can,
Okay, so we can add those 3 then too. to the-
if it's a concern.
Are you fine with that, Kevin? Is that
Yes.
a restriction?
Yes.
Okay. Danny, you identify those lots on any lot that doesn't have a separate parcel next to Henry or on Settlers Boulevard.
So there's 6 lots, correct?
Yes.
Can we just call them out by number now so we can add it to the motion, please?
I will.
Thank you.
19,
36, 37.
Is that 36 and 37?
Yeah.
That is 19, right?
Yep.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
We have 54.
54, 72, and 94?
Correct.
How many do you have, Jamie?
6.
Okay. We'll take this one item at a time. Anything else on this final plat, the resolution for the 5 and 6 final plat of subdivision? And then will it include the side yard setbacks? Go ahead.
I still think there's too many lots, it's still too dense. I think we're getting away from the original intent of Settlers Ridge to offer a variety of homes, so, you know, as much as I appreciate Kevin and Ryan trying to limit the type of houses, I think that's a detriment to this neighborhood. If you look at the original plat, you see a wide variety of lot sizes in there to give it some character, and I think the way the lots are laid out, we're losing the character of Settlers Ridge.
Okay.
Dan?
Yeah, of course you can.
I don't disagree with that, but if you look at the original plan, as we got basically to the northwest and west of that Central Park area, it really turned into, you know, a traditional type neighborhood with same size lots that lost that feeling.
Okay.
Yes, no, I agree with you.
This plat.
But I feel like basically what we're doing now is we're just starting it earlier. I appreciate that they're doing the different lot sizes on the eastern boundary there.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, one of the things we talked about was what we're expecting across from them. But the fact of the matter is we're not gonna get somebody who's gonna develop those, you know.
I realize, yeah. But I would even encourage some of the wider houses, you know, there's the 42-foot wide houses and 45-foot wide houses, just to give some variety of housing type, but, you know, it's up to the ultimate builder, Ryan Homes, and what they want to offer.
I checked with them on the lot sizes, and so their largest house is 40 as a 2-car and 50 as a 3-car.
I thought we read somewhere that they offered 42-foot wide houses.
That's not what I was told.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that's what they're eliminating, some of these.
Sean, I'll tell you, that what you were citing was my early heartache with this whole ask, for sure. And really, it was, the comment that I was looking for was the support of the homeowners association, honestly, is what it came down to in my, you know, his comments that he provided at the last meeting, further solidified with the letter here, I think is allowing me to be much more comfortable with it. Yeah, is it, I hear you, you know, but I think Jamie, you said it well. You know, the market is what the market is right now for homes. And,
I can speak to being in a neighborhood that has been 20 years going without added HOA revenue. And that burden does fall on those homeowners to support an entire area that they shouldn't have supported on their own. So if the homeowners association is okay with the concessions that have been made, I think that should weigh a lot on all of us. But then also, Kevin, I would like you to commit to the board what we talked about, which was, this is this area, okay? And the rest of the subdivision has to come in with a master plan, so that we're not piecemealing the rest of this subdivision. So the approvals today, if they come your way and this moves forward, that any other thing that comes in front of the board will be a full master plan of the rest of the area.
Yes, I agree. I would like to add some color, if I could,
Please.
around that. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to develop here. I am, my team and I were just talking about this last week. I'm very impressed by how the village operates, in the commitment and the thought. It's challenging to me and makes me and my team better. So I truly want to thank each of you for that challenge. I say that to also say that the residents have been waiting a long time for this to be finished, and I've made a 10-year commitment in this market to Ryan Homes. I intend fully on including, and talked about it with the HOA, I've talked about it with whoever will listen, that I want to develop a master plan and then have focus group breathe into it to where the HOA and staff and the board and the like can share proactively, because I'm learning. I step into this is your village, this is your neighborhood, and I'm privileged to be able to work in it for the next 10 years, and I intend to do a good job, and I intend to be a good partner, and I intend to not come into town and then fly. I intend to be considered by each of you in this room as a neighbor, because we're going to be living together for 10 years. And I do support what you're saying, and I do commit to having that master plan and having it thought out and having meandering roads and having complete connectivity and having different sizes of lots and all the things that we're talking about that I'm learning as I'm going through this process with you. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Is there any other question or discussion?
I had a question on square footage of the homes that were presented in the past. Are those square footages including the garage? Because it just seems...
Yeah, let me bring up Mark from Ryan.
Well, can we do this?
Can we just
Oh,
make
okay.
it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go item by item, that will come up in the next
Okay.
one.
Okay.
So that's okay. Just give us 1 second. So any discussion on, any further discussion on the resolution for the final plat of subdivision?
I just,
Go ahead,
sorry.
go ahead, no, please.
I just wanted to say that, the homeowners association thumbs up for it weighs very heavily with me, so that makes me much more comfortable, because their opinion, they're the ones who are living there, their opinion matters a lot. So it's great that you worked well together and got it worked out.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you to your commitment too, to being part of this process. It does make a difference. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, can I get a motion to approve item C, the resolution for final plat of subdivision for area 5 and 6 in Settlers Ridge?
I make that motion.
Wait a minute, time out, hold on 1
What,
second.
5 and 6 or 7?
Do I have to do them separately? I have to do them separately.
Right.
I make that-
Okay, but you're gonna make the motion because you have items on there, right? In the final
Yeah.
plat of subdivision.
Hold on, now I gotta figure out which
Well,
one.
and then also, can you, Jamie, I'm sorry,
Yeah?
can you make the motion subject to attorney review
Yes.
as well? In engineering review, both.
And engineering?
Yeah,
Do we also want the conditions that are?
yes, those, on those lots, yep.
Okay.
Excuse me, can I
Yeah.
just interject for 1 second?
Yeah, of course.
We talked about bonding, and I think I'd like to, if it's okay with you all, to have Dave kind of ask some questions
Well,
on.
this is just, this is only on the.
Oh, it's only on the
It's
line,
only
okay.
on this item of subdivision.
That's okay.
We're still going through the other items
Okay,
next.
great, thank you,
Okay?
thank you.
No, absolutely, thank you for
Yeah.
asking. It's one item at a time, but we're gonna get there.
That's good.
All right, so I would make a motion to approve the final plat for Settlers Ridge Area 5, subject to attorney review, and with an additional plat restriction to not allow direct access from lots 72 and 94 to Settlers Boulevard.
Also with
And
engineering.
also subject to engineering and the conditions set forth in the board report.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. I have a first out of trustee White, a second out of trustee Garrett. Roll call, please, Nanny.
Trustee White,
Aye.
trustee Herring,
Aye.
trustee Michaels,
No.
trustee Lundy,
Aye.
trustee Bonnie,
Aye.
trustee Shomas,
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 5-1.
I would make a motion to approve final plat of subdivision for Settlers Ridge Area 6, subject to attorney review and engineering approval from the village engineer. Also with a plat restriction for no direct access from lots
19, 36,
19, 36, 37, and 54, excuse me, 54 to Settlers Boulevard, 19, 36, 37 to Henry Drive. And the additional conditions set forth in the board report.
Did you include attorney review and the other things?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
I have a first out of trustee White and a second out of trustee Herring. Roll call, please.
trustee White,
Aye.
trustee Herring,
Aye.
trustee Michaels,
No.
trustee Lundy,
Aye.
trustee Bonnie,
Aye.
trustee Shomas,
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 5-1. Okay, up next, we have, the ordinance amending Chelan Development District Area 5 and 6. And Danny, is that gonna be two separate items too when it comes?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The ordinance, is it for both those items, or is that gonna be separate as well?
For the PDD amendment?
Yes.
No, that is one ordinance.
Okay, here we go. Okay, Danny, you have the floor.
Okay, as we've already discussed somewhat, you previously discussed the PDD amendment for Settlers Ridge areas 5 and 6. The changes have been outlined already for you that the developers made. Additionally, I would like to suggest that the attached colored exhibits be incorporated as part of the approval for future reference. Language be added to the PDD amendment that states that the newly proposed berm match the height of the existing berm. And add clarifying language stating that the proposed pocket parks with picnic table and benches be an HOA-owned amenity. There was also discussion concerning the bond requirement that is in the development agreement. The PDD amendment states the developer post a bond in lieu of connection to Arbor Ave. The developer stated the amount would be too great. Staff understands this, and we would support reducing this requirement to only require the developer to bond the portion that will be tied to Settlers 5 and 6, areas 5 and 6.
Okay, thank you.
So as this develops, separate bonds for every section of Settlers Ridge as it develops?
Yeah, it's just for the connection. It's just for the connection for Arbor Ave because in the original agreement, it was tied to 5 and 6 if the areas did not develop in order. And that's just to ensure that there will be some kind of connection eventually to the west. With the master plan changing, that connection will probably change and the village is not ready for the connection at this time anyways.
Okay. Okay. Discussion. Any questions? I have to reiterate everything you just said because I made notes.
Hopefully nothing happens.
Is it? You want me to go?
Yeah, I didn't write it.
Okay, let me just look at my notes. All right. So, and Danny, feel free to jump in if I get something wrong on the motion, okay? So I ask for a motion approving the ordinance amending the plan development district areas 5 and 6 with the additions to include the attached exhibits to our board packet, the colored attached exhibits. That the berm that is proposed in the plan must meet the same and match the same height of the existing berming. That the HOA amenities that are included as part of the plan be owned by the homeowners association. And that the bond should cover the 5 and 6 areas only.
That is correct. Subject to attorney's review.
Subject to
and
attorney
village
review and engineering review.
Can I just ask you to change one thing on that, that the berm height would be a minimum of, he can still go above that now, right?
That the berm height, yes.
Not necessarily match existing, but at least
Matches or exceeds the existing height.
matches or exceeds.
Quick question on that. So eventually we have to taper this thing down, right? So, it's not gonna look like a loaf of bread, kind of more of a, so that's understood?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, so that is the motion, okay.
The HOA is requesting that we require the maintenance bond to be 24 months. I don't know if that's something.
Kevin? Any issues with that?
No issues.
Okay. Also to add to this motion, that the maintenance bond lasts 24 months. Okay. Got all that in our recording. I have a motion. Do I have a first on that motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. I have a first on trustee White, a second on trustee trustee Herring, my apologies. Roll call, please, Danny.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Aaron?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
No.
Trustee Lundy. Aye. Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 5-1. Okay. Up next, we have item E, the resolution area 5 and 6, architectural approval. Okay, this is a little bit bigger packet. Jamie?
As part of the approvals, the village board has sole discretion to approve the architecture for each phase of Settlers Ridge. Before you, you have all of the proposed elevations and models along with the color package. And then there's an exhibit to the resolution that outlines all the architecture requirements as well.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have specifics they'd like to address on any particular model or anything that you would just want to address first? Do you have something earmarked?
I do.
Okay, I had no doubt. There you go.
No, honestly, I tried, it's just a nitpick, and it's just a heads up for the building department.
All right, Trustee Lindy, can you give us a page that you're going to be referring to?
It's on several of them, but like on page 77, I'm looking at the side view of the third car garage option, where we have a change in the pitch on that third car. One, that low pitch, I'm not a fan of low pitches in this area with asphalt shingles. Be aware when you have a 2.5, anything under the 4 is a low pitch, and you need the double, I believe you need double ice and water shield, I think, with the low pitch with asphalt shingles. When you have it change from a 612 to a 2.5 pitch there, you're creating a spot where the snow is going to come down and sit right there, and then it's not going to slide off as easily because it's a low pitch. So where I'm not questioning, I don't doubt your original roofers are going to do it appropriately, which you can do, but it is an area that needs special attention to make sure it's done right. I'm thinking of the homeowner further down, when the roof needs to be replaced. They need to make, the homeowner now needs to be aware that that is a spot, or the inspectors need to be, be aware that that has to be taken care of properly, because in the industry, I'm an architect, I've done home remodel, I worked for a builder.
I knew there was something.
Well, I worked for a builder for a long time, and, I'm spotting that, and I'm like, yeah, that's something that immediately tells me that's a spot that's gonna wanna leak if it's not done properly. And my concern is not if it's not done properly initially, it's later on when the homeowner gets the house re-roofed. So not necessarily, hey, you have to change it, but I wanted to bring it up as something that I see as a potential issue maybe in the future, that we want to make sure, put a red flag, hey, anybody with this model, we want to make sure we check and make sure that they have it done properly.
Can we just ask a quick question? Have you built that in the last 65 homes that you've done?
Yes.
Okay.
And I know that as part of, I think, the overall master permit review, right, there's usually focused on those areas where ice damming has the potential, right, so that we, to your point, right, are aware of that as a builder and know that that can happen.
Maybe a good question too is either for Trustee Michaels and yourself, but what is the significant cost difference? Because you show it as an upgrade. If somebody wants to do an 812 pitch, you show it as an upgrade. So what is obviously you're gonna have more siding with that, you're gonna have a little bit more roofing material. What is the significant, if you're selling that to somebody, what is the significant cost increase?
Yeah, I would say that I'm not aware that anybody ever goes with that option, even though it might be shown. Very minimal. I wouldn't say right 100% that it's not chosen, but typically those options on the structural side are trumped by the either additional elevation dollars or interior finishes. But no, I mean I give credit to our operations team because they are pretty adherent to working with the building staff, permitting staff for those types of conditions that may present themselves.
Trustee Michaels, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I didn't think any slope was allowed under 3% in this area because of the snow.
Yeah,
But they can work on it.
Yeah, I looked it up, you know, because I normally, rule of thumb is anything less than 3% is considered almost a flat roof, but they do allow from 2 to up to 4, but it's considered a low slope, and it does have to have the double ice and water shield. I'm assuming the reason it's got such a low slope is because the windows in the front elevation, you wouldn't allow for enough
You're exactly right.
flashing there, so.
Visual as well as on the construction side, yes.
Right. I understood that. I mean, if you could get it to 3, that would be ideal, but I understand you have to play with the flashing under the windows. But what I really didn't like is the change in the pitch at that to the low slope, because you want to make sure, one, that's got additional structure in there, because you're going to have the weight of the ice as the snow is melting on there. And then you do have to pull that ice and water shield up there, because that is a problematic area that's, if it's not done properly, you will get water. Understanding that's in the, not over living space, but still, nobody wants water.
Absolutely.
Okay. Additional architectural details?
You know, and how it looks and such, I leave that up to a lot of the, you know, what the homeowner and what's gonna sell. My kind of focus is what's gonna be problematic in construction.
Just want to make sure, page 65, if you look at the Holston elevation, it doesn't look like it has a 1 foot overhang on the sides of the home, so I'd like to ensure that there are 1 foot overhangs on the sides. And then I'd like to challenge or ask about the square footage. It seems hard to get on page 66, the Yale, 3,683 square feet with the layout, but does the square footage include the garage?
It does not.
The dimensions weren't real easy to pick up on.
Okay, so can we address the roof overhang of 12 inches?
Yeah, no challenges there. I think that's what was previously approved. I think what were previously built.
We can add that as a condition to Exhibit A.
Condition of Exhibit A.
I agree, that was actually one of my other things I had seen, but looked like it was an option on some of the other ones.
Yeah.
A lot of the plans don't show it, that's why
Yeah.
I was asking you guys that as well. So,
Because it
I
makes
drove
it
through
look
today,
too
all the
flat.
houses had it except for at the roof. You know, where your first floor roof meets the house, you didn't have the overhang there. And I guess I didn't have an issue with that. It did with because all you're doing is having a roof overhang on a flat wall behind it. And so, but all the other ones do have that, but these plans show it without it. And so that's what I want to make sure that.
Yep, understood.
Okay. So that is a condition of approval. Anything else that was spotted?
Don't show these plans to my wife or we put them
And you're at house.
No, they're really trying.
Her email
I
is
think
what?
some of these things are really spectacular, quite frankly. Yeah.
One of the things I do want to just draw attention to was initially in our first meetings, the discussion of streetscape, anti-monotony. So we did add 2 plans to the lineup to allow for effectively an additional 6 elevation options as you look at the neighborhood as a whole. And so initially we had 5 that were under previous approval that we were asking to kind of be grandfathered under the previous resolution. And what you're seeing here, there's 2 additional plans then that were added as a part of the request to increase options for front elevation variations.
The other thing that I've seen too is the colorways that are in here for approval probably are the same exact colorways that we approved last time.
I think there's a few extra additions,
Okay.
but very similar, yes.
They seem like they are, I think not that you can do your entire color palette, because color palettes in general can be trendy, right?
Right.
But it just seemed that there was a lot more of the darker than the lighter color palette, and I feel like there's a lot of people that still want a lighter colored home. Yes, there's a few, but again, let's say you have a street, and then there's quite a few dark colors.
Right, right.
And then you group them together in the packet and said if you did this, you had these other colors that went with it.
Right.
I don't know if the HOA would be amenable to it. I don't know if the board even cares about adding some lighter colorways to their options.
Those are the standard colors that James Hardy provides without a premium pricing, so I would just go with that palette.
Okay, that's the reason. I knew there was a reason. How much is it to do the custom colors? How much does it add?
15%, so.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? There's one item I didn't earmark it, the page, and you probably built it, and I didn't notice it the last time I went through, but there is a home whose rear elevation. So I'm gonna go to page 93, and this is gonna talk a little bit about Heidi's pitch, a little bit, but like on 93, page 93, the rear elevation where you get really the front gable coming through and the roof pitch isn't high enough, and then you have this little triangular bump above the ridge line.
So this is, we're looking
Rear elevation,
for the,
and it's really, I believe it's a product of the fact that that is the lower pitch, and if you had an 8-12 pitch on that roof, then you wouldn't have that little, what maybe, okay.
Unfortunately, that's not that uncommon to see that. That is not something I strive for ever, because it looks a little goofy.
Well, and I wonder on how many homes that would happen, and on that home where you would get that little triangular rear elevation look, and maybe it doesn't matter if your rear elevation is a rear elevation, but if your rear elevation facing a drive or a public roadway, which is all interior, aren't they? They all interior, unless you're an end unit, you're gonna see. Okay,
I think there's a handful of homes in Walnut Woods that.
go do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I can talk about the ledge. Any other questions or concerns on the architectural standards?
Oh, just to also help you a little bit, it is pitching back away from you when it does that, so you're not gonna see it flat like this. So
Yeah.
it's not gonna be as visual.
Okay. Hearing no other discussion? All right, so what was the only thing I had to add? A condition to exhibit A for the 12-inch roof overhang is the only added condition. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
Actually,
Okay, Dee.
can we add, I think this might be a good place to add that none of the driveways,
The side load,
six
side
lots,
load.
the side load driveways that was in the plat of subdivision.
You
those
added it
six
to the
lots.
last.
I think it should be added to the
To this one.
architecture standard document, because we call out all the garages that are, or all the lots that are limited to 2-car garages in that exhibit as well. So I
Okay.
think it would be a good place to have that listed as well.
Trustee White, do you have that list of lots again?
One question to that also. The way the language reads, it limits it to 2-car garages. Would ask if we could limit that to 2-car front load. In the event, right, 12 months from now, we look at maybe a tandem garage, right? That would be a 2 front load, but a third, right, interior. So it would adjust the width. That, and again, that would have to come before the board anyway for approval, but then I wouldn't have to amend that specific also, if that's
All we're doing
reasonable.
is gonna add it to the,
No, he's talking about my existing language. I have an exhibit A that says these lots may only have a 2-car garage. He wants to add a 2-car front load garage.
Yes.
So it doesn't limit a third car to be placed behind.
In a tandem. Okay, so, all right, James, so, ready, because you have lots.
okay, so I
So-
would make a motion to approve the Settlers Ridge Area 5 and 6 architecture. Is this one attorney review or not?
Yeah, yeah, do them all that way.
Subject to
Yeah.
attorney review?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what are you gonna review, right?
Condition to,
Provided that Exhibit A has added that there will be the 1 foot overhang on the roofs, and that the language that limits the housing to 2 lot garages are only with regard to the width, front load 2-car garages, and not necessarily tandem, and that there not be access to Settlers Boulevard from lots 54, 72, and 94, or Henry Drive from lots 19, 36, and 37.
And I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. The first by trustee White, second by trustee Heron. Roll call, please.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy. Aye. Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Thomas?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 6-0. I appreciate the discussion on that item. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, up next, we have item F, the resolution for formal objection to King County rezoning on Camp D. You also did receive at your desk a letter that Danny provided. Danny.
Yes, so at the previous meeting, the village board chose to continue this resolution for a formal objection for the Camp Dean extraterritorial zoning request in King County. We have since met with staff has since met with the attorney for the applicant. We gave them all the conditions that are outlined in our resolution that said that we would rescind our formal objection if these conditions are met. The attorney agreed to all of them. What you have before you is the letter that I received today that was provided to the county asking that these conditions be added to their application as conditions of their special use. We have also followed up with Big Rock since the previous meeting, and they are going to move forward with passing a resolution to file a formal objection with the county for this property. So staff is requesting that you review the letter I have provided and discuss. I do want to call out in that letter, they have amended one of our conditions that allows for buses that have been converted into campers to be stored on the property. They have amended our conditions slightly. So staff is requesting that the village board discuss the proposed resolution with the letter that we have received and the conditions to decide if you would like to move forward with the formal resolution or rescind our objection as staff is recommending since they have met our conditions.
Dan, if you don't mind, when you spoke with Big Rock, what is the reason that they are planning to object?
The reason Big Rock is planning to object is because they feel that the use does not go with the surrounding uses. They also have a lot of concerns with the county's enforcement of properties, and they feel that there will be a lot of things that will be happening on that property that may be not in the special use, and the county will not be enforcing the property maintenance and items such as that for the special use. They have concerns with that.
It spells out in the letter. I don't know if you have an opportunity, but in the letter that was attached.
In my previous board report, yeah, I had the letter from.
And it's in this packet as well, which was interesting because it sounds like they've been doing, it's going to be illegal use of the land today, and then they made modifications to the property when you read the letter that they say they can't farm the land because of the grinding of material and putting it on that parcel so that they can use the property as it's not intended. So I found their letter enlightening. They are closest to it, and it still would be unincorporated property. So
I have a comment that was not part of why we didn't like that. This is to be used for campers and such storage. So the main time that you would have maximum traffic going in and out would be the summer, correct?
Correct.
I will tell you right now, that summers, it is very busy with Girl Scout camp. It's resident camp, it's day camp, and that is a 2-lane road, and it is tight, and it gets very busy. And so I would not want that use there. That would increase the traffic so much with large vehicles coming through, and then moms and everybody trying, and dads, whatever, trying to get their kids there and get their kids back. Because there's a fair amount of traffic in the summer for camping.
If I may, as a camper who owns a 40-foot travel trailer, most of the people that are doing these things are looking for off-seasonal storage. So they're gonna bring them there in October, and then they're gonna pull them out in April. So there shouldn't be a whole lot going on in the summer, because that's not what the long-term storage that people are looking for there.
Well, I as someone who has owned a camper for a couple decades, for like 15 years,
I knew I'd like
I use vacation land, and that,
Oh,
okay, so I would put mine there, and then I would take it out in the summer. If you don't have a place that you're staying all summer long,
Yeah.
then yes,
Yeah.
you do move it in the summer,
Yeah.
and then you store it back. And there was a lot of traffic
On the
in vacation
weekends,
land on the weekends
Fridays and
and in the summer. There is a lot of, so I,
How
respectfully disagree.
many spaces are they looking for?
300 and a lot.
I think it was
360?
360.
360. And the other thing to keep in mind is not only do most HOAs have a restriction about parking a vehicle like that in your driveway, but so does the village. You can't park that in your driveway in the village, so all of Sugar Grove.
That's why I don't.
But to Heidi's point, if you did not do a permanent location in the summer and you were just using your trailer to travel.
I've used vacation land off-season and during season. It just depends on if you can find a seasonal lot that'll give you off-season storage. So in my case, yeah, I guess I've done both. I've been guilty of both, right? I've been, of getting storage just from October to April and getting year-round storage where I check mine out for power weekends, so to speak. Yes, and they get wide down a 2-lane road. Although if we presented to their attorney that if you agree to these conditions, then we'll withhold our objection, and now they're agreeing to the conditions,
Yeah, but these are not the board's conditions.
Yeah, that's up to us.
Okay.
These are conditions that were put out by staff.
Okay.
For you to either agree or not agree.
No offense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the bigger thing that's happening out there too is you have King County Forest Preserve that has gobbled up some area. You have the Girl Scouts that are out there for camping and recreating. And I wouldn't disagree with what I read out of the president of Big Rock and the concerns that he has with this use.
Heidi, is that enough for you to still want the letter? What you've already stated, the concern with campers and the promotion and the interference with the Girl Scouts that are out there?
We can add it in there. I just don't think it's a good use in general, because my personal experience, which has been a very long time with Girl Scouts and going down there, and on the weekends, there's always activities going on all year round in the weekends, but especially,
There isn't, the reason why I'm sure, look, I'm not gonna advocate for this. I think it was a bad move that they tried to sneak, what feels like they tried to sneak something in here. There's a reason why this is happening, that camper usage, RV storage, it's blown up big time over the last handful of years. And I can't get into vacation land anymore, right there, Pat. Now, you just can't. There aren't enough spaces to store them anymore, right? I'm lucky enough to have a place where mine stays now all year out in Amboy. But if we were looking at buying something, doing it again now, without this nearby, I don't know what I would do. I probably wouldn't buy a camper.
Any other thoughts from any of the board members?
I think it's a need, definitely a need. With the Heidi's comments, it is a busy road. The road is not in great shape. My parents own a facility that stores boats, motorhomes. cars, like everything, indoor and outdoor, and it's constant. Like it is constant with people pulling stuff out. And it could be some people pull them out for the season, some people pull them out for 2 weeks, 1 week, and it's back in. So it is constant traffic. And I think it's gonna eat that road up, may create some unsafe situations. And yeah, being so far out of sight, out of mind, anything can happen. Like, but I understand that it's a need, but there are a lot of
Those
people.
Class A's
but-
are huge. Some of them have double tires on the back of those things.
I think it's gonna shoot.
That's more the road commission, yeah. I think it's the road commission. Any other thoughts?
I'll make a motion to object to the petition or file.
Just file a letter, remove paragraph 2 of the resolution.
Yeah,
You're just gonna object, trustee Michaels, with no conditions?
yeah,
Is that your motion?
yeah, it's,
Straight objection with no
It
conditions?
would be a resolution without paragraph 2, which is on page 170.
Trustee Michaels' motion is to object to the petition with no conditions.
yeah.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, second.
I have a first on trustee Michaels, second on trustee Lindy. Roll call, please.
Action, can we pause?
Yep.
Or can we just pass it that way? Because for the county, for us to file a formal objection, the village board has to adopt a resolution if we want to trigger the 3/5 supermajority vote.
That's what
My understanding is they're passing the resolution that's on
Okay.
170, just with number 2.
Okay.
Yes.
Alright.
Yes. Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Shomis?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 6-0. Up next, item G, resolution for PSA Phase 2 for engineering on Illinois 47 Park Avenue, intersection improvements, Brad.
Good evening. As you recall, several months ago, we submitted the Phase 1 engineering to IDOT for this intersection improvement. And we've received favorable feedback back from IDOT with minimal changes to the plans. So it's time to complete Phase 2 design engineering on this project.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? I think we're all excited to move this project along.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
I'm the first on trustee White, the second on trustee Heron. Roll call, please.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Shomis?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 6-0. Up next, we have discussion items. So I am going to ask to move, I'm sorry. I skipped public comment. I did not intend to do that. We have public comment on any and all items and also discussion items. We have item A, new general services contract for engineering with HR Green and Robinson Engineering. Item B, new village attorney process. Item C, amending village code liquor license text amendment. Item D, the 2025 road program. Item E, pump removal and inspection for well 11. Item F, new home permit fee, building permit fee, and impact fee breakdown. Item G, a resolution amending zoning, subdivision, building permit, and other charges for the fiscal year 24-25. Item H, an employee performance evaluation form for 2024. And item I, 2024 proposed property tax levy announcement. So any and all public comments or any items also on our discussion? Any public comment? You can come to the podium, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Sue Stillwell. I just wanted to comment on the Crayons Strategies presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry. Asthma issues. So from my understanding, the village is paying Crayons Strategies over $50,000 a year, and the purpose of that is to gain the engagement of the community. I'm sorry, I really need my inhaler. And so, sorry, over $50,000 a year to gain the engagement of the community. As a community member, when I go on Crayons Strategies posts, the village has blocked us from responding to any of them, so we're not able to use those to engage with the community. In addition, Instagram, Facebook, all of these platforms that we're paying all this money for are free. We're going into some possibly uncertain times, possibly recessionary conditions next year. So as a community, we'd really like to see some restraint in spending from the community. That particular expense, if the purpose is to engage the community and the community cannot engage, I don't think it's worth it. It may be something worth reevaluating in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments at this time? Going once, going twice, 3 times we will close that portion. Up next, I'm gonna move here because we have some guests here this evening. So I am gonna move the item D to item A for the 2025 road program. Brad and Chris Ott. Sorry to make you jump, he's been waiting patiently.
Good evening. We're here tonight to discuss the 2025 road program and beyond. Actually, the 5-year. Did you guys all receive the updated attachment?
Yeah. The updated attachment is everybody
That's
board packet.
spreadsheet, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
So basically this year we're talking about resurfacing and concrete removal on Neal from Stanley going east to the dead end, Stanley Road from Mona to Joy, Calkins Drive to McCannon to the west dead end, Yule Lane Street from Patricia to the west cul-de-sac. Kadika Road, the township notified me that they're gonna do their portion of Kadika, so we're gonna do our portion at the same time with them.
Good.
So we'll combine the projects that we've done in the past. We're gonna do some patching on Division, and then also noteworthy in my board report, we received word from Kane Kendall Council mayors that Merrill New will be resurfaced from Wheatfield to Bliss, and Wheeler Road resurfaced from Esker to Dugan next year.
Oops, sorry.
Time's up, dude.
That's just. Sorry.
Brad, I think it's just Merrill Road, not
Yes.
Merrill Main.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That is confusing.
Okay, did everybody have an opportunity to look through this? I think a couple of things to note that are noteworthy. Well, there was a first document that was sent out and an updated document that was sent out. And then in the last 4 years, we've been able to add roughly $500,000 to our road program on an annual basis. I think the goal is, one, we've heard it since I've been involved. We've talked about sidewalks, we've talked about roads, we've talked about infrastructure, and we're at a great place where we're able to bump up our road program, and in some cases do roads before. So I remember that presentation that Chris, you did a few years back, and it seemed overwhelming at the time, and we rated all our roads, and now I feel like we're able to, even though we're in a good place, I feel like we're able to get into an even better place with the added funds. So, thank you, but I don't know if you want to add anything, Chris, to this.
Well, most of those funds are coming from the non-home rule sales tax, right?
Well, we've increased sales tax too in our village, so there's a lot of things. We're also holding steady in our road maintenance fees in here, which as we get more residents, that number will jump, and we'll have to have a conversation about that.
Reducing it or?
Yeah, well, at least holding it steady would be, I talked to Matt about it today. If you look through the annual in-year 6-year plan, because he doesn't have a number with how many new homes we have, he's holding that number steady at $274,000. And I asked him to run some numbers today, and it was pennies by the time, literally monthly, it was like 18 cents a month that we would have saved if we reduced it down to hold that 274 number steady, just to make sure and ensure that we are increasing the road program annually. So, but I think it's optimistic. I'm certainly optimistic on the amount of money that we're able to add to keep the roads. That is one of the things that a lot of people talk about in Sugarford, road conditions, and how good they are compared to other communities. When you travel in other communities, you know this.
I talked to Brad before the meeting, in the 2025-26 year, I didn't know if it made sense to hold off on Hawkins and Yule Lane to allow us to do some storm sewer projects, but Brad said most of the storm sewer issues are on Maple. Yeah. And then in year 4, 2027 program, either move that up a year or back a year, but to allow Blackwell Trails Units 1 and 5, units 6 through 8 to be done consecutive years so that the payment's nice in both areas.
I'm sorry, I don't even see Blackwell in 27, 28.
Year 5.
I thought you
Year
said
3
year
and
4.
year 5.
Okay, year 3 and
But
5.
he said
Okay,
move it
so,
up or move it back so that they're.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
We'll make changes to it.
Yeah, Brad said he needs some time to.
and this is just discussion, so you can look at that and see how those dollars fluctuate.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
If not, we'll bring back a proposal for the PSA for the design.
And as a road, this is a road program thing because it affects the storm source that you're talking about in the original sections of town, but specifically the east side of town, where we've had some complaints in the past on road condition. And the biggest thing that has to happen for all of that to get fixed, as you know, it's the same issue with Maple, is the stormwater has to be there, which is why we want settlers to go and grow, because with settlers moving forward, they will have stormwater management and detention on the east side, which will allow us to then have storm sewer flow to that detention and then ultimately put in storm sewer new roads for them. So that's a huge part of, fixing the older section of town. It actually takes growth to have some of those things repaired and fixed properly.
So that we can't wait any longer on those roads. There's bad.
Yeah.
Brad, M&R, is that basically what we just did on Main Street? Fixing the curb?
Yes.
No resurfacing?
Yeah, no resurface, yeah.
Any questions? No. Thank you. Chris, you waited all that time. Thank you. Okay. Then I'll get back on track here. All right, up next, Scott. Item A, new general services contract for engineering with HR Training Robinson Engineering.
Thank you. With all the growth that's been happening, the approval of the growth project, the approval tonight of the additional homes in Sutton Bridge, and the excellent the consensus from the Lennar project that was brought before the village board, along with other projects that are potentially coming, because oftentimes growth may bring other growth. We've had some internal discussions, and we've met with HR Green, who's used for road projects, and used for the bridge, and then we've had an internal meeting with staff at Robinson Engineering. We have wonderful partners, and we have a great village engineer here at the village. However, I want to make sure that our team has all the resources that they need. We do have tight deadlines that we have to meet in the annexation agreement for the Grove, and we want to make sure that we're meeting and keeping all of our deadlines. So I wanted to give staff appropriate options as we go from a few permits a month to a lot, considerably more permits than that per month. So I wanted to bring the discussion to the board about potentially having these agreements. We currently, as a practice, have, when we've used HR Green, we've brought forward agreements to the board for approval. If we get an application for Starbucks or something else or a home, we can't wait typically 2 board meetings before we start to work on that. So a general services agreement is typically what's done so that we can react quickly and get to work on engineering. So wanted to bring this forward and just to make sure we have options and to work with local partners.
Discussion.
Where is Robinson Engineering located?
They work in the community in the area. I can't remember off the top of my head. They do have some local. We talked about it in the meeting, and I don't. I'd have to look that up very quickly.
It'd be nice to see some information on them. I mean, all we see is.
Did they work in Oswego, Scott? Is that one of them?
They do a lot for Oswego.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah, that was one of the places I recommended when we talked to some neighboring communities about who they use.
HR Green, I know, is in North Aurora, and it's relatively convenient, so we're not paying a lot of drive time. Robinson's located in the south side of Chicago, which I think they are. I don't want to spend a lot of time for windshield time. And it'd be nice to see what other municipalities they work with, what their recommendations or what work they do. We're not getting anything from the staff report.
The plan is that if the board wanted to move forward with potentially doing agreements, then happy to bring that information forward as part of the agreements, absolutely.
I think we need the information first before you can make a record, before I can decide to bring an agreement forward.
Okay, other discussion? I think what I'm hearing is that you need to bring this back for discussion again with more information on contractual services and what that would look like, and detail that out more for the board.
Yeah, I have experience with HR Brink, but not Robinson, so.
Are there other local companies that we could also consider, like HR Green?
There are other options in the area. These are the ones that just have in the past come recommended, and we're just talking to other groups. We can put out an RFP and do or RFQ and do a larger search. If that's what the will of the board was, this is kind of like an initial discussion of what process or what more info do you need to help make the decisions. This is something new for us.
I might suggest you look at having at least baseline agreements with maybe more than just the two that we had, bring in maybe 3 or 4, to have a couple of different options depending on maybe one organization's a strength in one area and another one has another, and then you're already pre-authorized to engage with them, and there could be advantages or disadvantages. We do it on the engineering services side with my company all the time.
Okay.
Right, it gives you and the staff more than 2 options.
Okay.
Does that impact our, the yearly charge?
So we would ask that when we set our fee for a single family home or for a townhome, that in order to be able to do that type of work, that they would fit into the fee structure that we have established through budget every year. So if they would like to have the potential to do a site plan review, for example, that if on the ones that we do have set fees, they would have to abide by that if they wished to work in that area. That was part of the plan as far as this on larger commercial or like a review of a settler's expansion, for example. That's done with an escrow and an hourly rate, not with a set fee. So that's a bit of a different. That's how we've done business in the past.
I just didn't know if there was some discount you get for exclusivity, so to speak.
Not that I'm aware of, but I can look into that as well.
We probably have to guarantee them a certain number of hours in a year in order to make it worth their while on exclusivity, because they'd have to pre-hire people to put on a bench in order for that to happen. I would think, at least that's the way that I would support it. I've been in those areas on the other side of engineering services, but engineering consulting services.
I just want to make one other comment. So EEI is an excellent partner. I know Scott put that in his order report. This by no means means that we're going to try to take business away from EEI. There's lots of things that we have to do. One of the items that is long past due that we'll have to figure out funding for is our transportation plan. Michelle has worked really hard on our water study, on our sewer study, and we will continue. But I think the concern that was coming from him, I'm misunderstanding, please let me know, is that with the amount of permitting that potentially will be coming in the near future, is just that will they be able to meet all of the timelines if they get backed up? While I have 100% confidence in EEI and their abilities to work with us and work timely, this is just a precautionary tale that he's trying to set up so we don't have to come back through the board. That's all this is. We love our partners at EEI, for the record. Thank you. Okay, so we need more information.
Absolutely.
Okay. New village attorney process. I don't know if Laura wants to go first. Not to put you on the spot.
Thank you.
Put you on the spot.
No, I just wanted to thank everyone here at the village. Or is my mic on?
I don't know. Hit the button. Tap your mic. Tap your mic. It's there.
Oh, okay. No, I wanted to thank the village. You know, we've appreciated the long-term relationship that we've had. However, our firm, like any organization, has been doing some long-range planning. We have a couple senior partners that are retiring, just prompted, reallocation of workload as they wind down their practices. And as such, we've decided to move on from general counsel positions with municipalities to doing a more municipal consulting role, and then taking on a larger transactional practice. So that I did talk to President Cohen and Scott Scott a couple of weeks ago, let them know that that was our plan, so that is now coming before you.
Thank you, Laura. So while we are sad that she will not be our general counsel and attending all of our meetings and all of my members' meetings on a regular basis, she does have a young family and understand those constraints. So what you have in front of you is now Scott. So let's see where we are.
Thank you. So with that, I guess I'm louder than Laura. With that being noted, wanted to go through and discuss with the village board a potential process because as you can see, I quoted the code and the attorney shall be appointed for a one-year term by the village president with advice and consent of the village board. So I wanted to discuss the process for selecting a new village attorney ahead of instead of just having a name brought forward for consent and get feedback from the board. Through my discussions with the village president, staff is recommending an RFP and an interview team comprised of staff. The staff which most frequently work with the village attorney would be part of that interview team. And then we would recommend a top 3 to the village president, and the village president would then bring forward a recommendation to the village board for consent. This is a process that obviously can be changed. The process for selecting isn't lined out specifically in code other than it is the village president's to put up a name. So just wanted to bring this forward for discussion before we move forward and took any further action.
And I did want to note just one thing, the code is what state statute says as well. It is a statutory appointment.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, discussion. So he has here going out for RFP, which we're trying to be amenable to. Also, Laura's being amenable to us, I guess, really. And she hasn't given us a firm timetable, but we want to move the process forward so that she can move on and turn all the things that
Well,
are
then maybe she should
coming
be on the committee to interview,
Yeah.
to make sure it moves forward.
Yeah.
But, which I say tongue in cheek, but I think actually getting, I don't know, a job description or whatever it is, some pointers, to certainly help those individuals to make sure the right questions are being asked. I'm not an attorney. I'm absolutely not holding my hand up to be on that committee because I would have nothing of value to add to that discussion. Maybe someone could be armed with a little more information to maybe speak on her behalf in those discussions, whether or not she would directly be involved in those discussions. I think with her organization's history with the village, that might be worth considering to ask that they be involved and to potentially at least help with some sort of a transition.
Sorry, what we had suggested is not actually being part of any of the interviews or anything, but helping craft the RFP just because we know what the scope of work typically is, and then helping, meeting with staff and the administrator to kind of go through what type of questions we think would be appropriate.
Yeah, I know if it was me, I would begin to know where to even start on questions there. Unless Jamie.
Is it an RFP for proposal or is it an RFQ for qualifications?
I think technically it's an RFQ, but I mean,
Okay.
no
Yeah,
place are here
I
to
thought,
really make
yeah,
everything.
I thought
The ideas were going
we
out.
want to look more at the qualifications, and I'd like to see staff bring the top 3 to the entire board and possibly set up an interview night or have them come make a presentation to the board as a whole as opposed to just to the village president.
Okay.
I think that's valuable. We did that with the village administrator position.
That's fine. All right, so put out an RFQ.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, up next. Item C, amending village code liquor license tax amendment.
You have before you discussion for amending our village code for the liquor license renewal process. Currently, our code requires that our building inspector do annual inspections when a business comes in to renew their liquor license. The fire department also does annual inspections on every single business in the village and any industrial buildings. So this is kind of double inspections that don't necessarily need to be done every year by our building inspector. The building inspector does work closely with the fire department since the fire department cannot issue tickets. When the fire department goes in for their yearly inspections and they find violations and the business owner, property owner are not correcting the violations that are called out, he calls in our building inspector. Our building inspector gets involved to start issuing violations to get these code violations corrected. So the text amendment is just proposing to remove the required yearly inspection for the renewal of the liquor license from our building inspector.
My understanding is the building inspector is inspecting for things that are different than the fire inspector.
That is not correct. I spoke with our building inspector and asked him to outline all the things he is inspecting, which is listed here. And that is also on the fire department's list of everything that they look at when they're going into these buildings as well.
So it's exactly the same.
Yeah. The fire department might get a little bit more involved than our building inspector does even.
Any other questions or discussion?
Is there anything in our code that allows us to revoke a liquor license if they don't bring property into compliance?
I'm not sure on the wording of that. I believe there is something because they have to pass inspections to be able to be compliant.
If not, maybe we should add something.
I can double check on that language.
I was gonna say, are you implying that there's something else that has to be amended?
Wouldn't even think of it. Before we get too busy.
It always opens another can of worms.
Okay. They don't check for ADA compliance when they do the inspections?
The fire department?
Yeah.
I am not positive on what they do exactly. I was told that they.
I'm just wondering.
Oh, because it's not listed on our list.
Yeah.
I believe the fire department does look for ADA compliance.
Okay, because that's one thing
Yes,
I
no.
would not necessarily expect the fire department to do, but I would assume that
I believe they have to look at all life safety, and I believe that was all. I will confirm for you before the next meeting that it is looked at by the fire department.
And that the bathrooms are clean.
I have a little, just a little concern. We're relying on a third party in this to actually inspect the properties within our town, to provide licensing that we're licensing. So, for instance, we're gonna take the word for the fire department that completed a inspection, we issue the licensing for that property.
We will still do the initial inspection for the liquor license.
Okay, let's
To
just say
issue
it's a
it.
renewal then, for the second year of renewal. We're basing our renewal off of another person and not our own village. We don't necessarily know the employees, who's doing them at the fire department, things that, I mean, there's all kinds of issues that could occur without having our own employees saying it. So my issue is, I would personally, I think I would like to keep it in-house. I understand it's double, but double makes it safe. I mean, there's things that the fire department could miss, and there's things that our people could miss as well. But I would like to just keep it as is. Just at the end of the day, we're authorizing that liquor license, whether it's a renewal or an initial, and we can say that our staff physically went there and checked on that property.
The school district has members of the school district, members of the ROE, members of the fire department, all come through on that inspection. So that seems to be common practice in other areas too.
And how many liquor licenses are we on?
How many do we have in total?
I believe it's 19.
So, just 19 checks a year for renewals.
Any other thoughts or comments?
I'd like to keep the.
I gotta keep. You gotta keep. He sold you on it as on a third party doing it. Anyone? You thought
I'm okay with the change.
You're okay with the change?
I'd be okay with the change, but.
Bring it back for general business with the information that was provided today or asked and requested for today. Trustee Bowman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Up next, item E, pump removal and inspection for well 11. Brad.
Good evening again. Recently, well 11 pump quit pumping. So we had Lane Wester come out, and it looks like the motor's faulted. So obviously the only way to figure out what's wrong with it is to remove it. We had originally intended to do well 9 this year, so it's my recommendation that we just switch the two and get well 11 out and figure out what's wrong with it.
I think the threat of doing well 9 over the last couple of years is keeping well 9.
I know, every year. And the quote is $45,000 to remove it, and then I'll bring back an estimate once we have an estimate. So.
Do we have to get 3 bids?
So we have every 3 years we approve a agreement with Lane Christensen for that.
Okay,
Service
all right.
agreement, so.
And if you're pulling the pump, you might as well replace it at that point.
Well, it's not that old, so I don't know if it's, we're not sure if it's the cable or the motor. I don't think the pump is bad. The pump is only like 5 years old.
Okay.
Where's 11?
That's the one in Settlers Ridge. That's the one that's is a little like railroad type thing. It's deep well, so the controls are in that little building.
It's solar that did it to it?
No. on that note, the well 10 solar is online. So that's good.
All right, bring back, thanks, Brad. All right, new home permit fee, building permit fee, impact fee breakdown. Matt.
My turn for the agenda items. All right, so as we have been discussing building permits and new homes, we've been getting requests from, community development has been getting requests from developers just requesting what our fees look like. And while in the past, the main fee of the $17,850 has been okay, a lot of them are now asking for a breakdown of detail. And most of those are approved during annexation agreements, and we haven't had one recently, so we don't really have a breakdown to provide that. So what we're presenting is creating that breakdown for a new home permit. At the time, we are currently not requesting to change that max permit fee of the $17,850, but kind of break it down because in April when we passed the fee resolution, as you can see, we added some of those impact fees already. So what this is doing is kind of solidifying using those impact fees that were already approved, but also using other annexation agreements that we have approved, talking with the taxing districts on their needs. We have made some recommendations on changes to the impact fees, but also just standardizing as an exhibit every year of the breakdown for impact fees and building permits, et cetera. So what this is not changing the cap. As you can see, there is a change. So in the current fee exhibit, we have $610 for school district land cash and $610 for impact fees for school. And through their discussions, is impact fees is where they would rather see the fee come through because they have greater flexibility with those funds. So what this is doing is just removing that land cash for school and putting it into the impact fee. So it's doubling it for impact fee and making it the $1,220.
Question on that?
Yes.
Okay. I thought land cash was based on bedroom.
So two separate items for this purpose. There is a land cash portion of our ordinance that's a completely separate, and that's usually a lump sum. That is going to be also brought back in the next meeting or two on how that is. That hasn't been looked at since, I believe, '98. So those two for land cash for parks and schools is a different section of the code than what we're doing here, yes. It is a different fee and calculation. Now, when we bring that back, that was where that full discussion will come, whether it's a lump sum up front, whether it's built into these fees where there is a calculation for per permit for a land cash, but at the moment, it's a separate portion of the code.
Okay, thanks.
Yes. So then park district fee, we've made them round numbers, proposing the $620. Library is $100, fire district $400, And then our current village road impact fee is $62.50, but we're proposing it at $5,000. So as we're looking through this, we're also making this standardized for our building department and community development when they're issuing these permits and having people come in. It's easier to have standardized fees so that they're not trying to grab and figure out which one they're under. So what this does is also makes it a little bit easier for when we're pulling permits. The $17,850 cap is not being changed at this time. It can be discussed when we approve it again in April. The only thing that would change once we set these fees is the building permit, because that is based on a square footage calculation. Of note, that last paragraph, when we talk, there is one current annexation fee, annexation agreement fee schedule for Hannaford Farms Amendment number 4 that was approved back in March between the village and badge 323 that had a $500, at the time, $17,850 was still the max of that permit fee. So it was set at that, but the increase started annually on May 1st of 22 at $500 to that cap. And as we have in the village, we've just increased that and used that number. Now what we are proposing to make this is standardizing those as well and actually bringing it back to the $17,850 for them and not having that increase in the cap. So that would change for Hannaford. The annexation agreement actually states that it's just an increase in the cap. It's not that it is an automatic increase to the permit. So we have the ability to do that. If the board chooses that, that's how they want to move forward, we can do that. But that is what is being proposed on this. So I guess it's open for discussion.
And just on your exhibit on page 209, when you list the building permit fee at $1135, that roughly represents a 3,600 square foot. So the only way home, so the only way for this permit fee to climb is to exceed in square footage. Anything above 3,600 square feet would raise the permit fee by 31 cents, and ultimately that's where you're getting your increase from. Anything smaller than 3,600 square feet or 3,600 and below is going to be at this 15,333.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes. So the only way to actually reach the $17,850 is the size of the home.
Okay.
Yes.
How many lots do we have in Hannaford?
I don't know exactly, but I want to say around 40. I don't know that off the top of my head. It could be the last. Yeah, it could.
And there's a couple that have been absorbed out of
Yeah,
that.
I haven't actually fully looked at the lot remaining left since we did the annexation amendment. So
We're not hitting the cap anyway.
so they're currently paying the $19,350. Yeah, because we've just used it just like a new home anywhere in the village was $17,850, but we've started to see that we need to standardize it because there's so much moving variables, and we've already approved all the fees in the fee schedule. The only thing that wasn't approved was the capital fee. That was our variable. Now we're standardizing it and making a flat fee, and it makes it easier for the community development department and all of finance to understand when a building permit goes out. The only thing that really changes is going to be the base building permit fee.
What was Crown's?
12.5.
12.5 with a 15% increase.
Yeah.
It's different year.
So theirs was 12.5 starting, and that really was the difference. Was there's no road impact fee on theirs. Ours is the 5. So.
Comments? Discussion?
I think they should all move 1250. I don't know why we gave Crown such a break, but I just think that was bad business on our part. And,
Well, we've given breaks before in Settlers Ridge when they were under 10,000 because of what a developer is doing and things that they're paying for that are excessive, like the water treatment facility that has a direct impact on permits. So, and what we tried to do with the Crown project was to eliminate the road impact fee because of the TIF district, so that there wasn't an impact there because the roads were covered. So, and that was then, we were able to drive more impact to the other taxing bodies. And this permit fee schedule gets the permit fee down to be more in line where the Crown project is. While it's not an apple to an apple, the projects are not totally comparable. So this is closer and not as large a gap in separation. And I think that builders that are building in the community today, while their roads are there, their water utility connections are in close proximity, this is a savings on the overall permit fee for them, so.
That's why I think the $12.50 or whatever we gave Crown makes more sense than giving Crown that big break. So, because the roads are in place, and builders have been building in the community to keep things going, and we should be giving them a break instead of a new developer that's going to put in a lot of demand on our existing roads.
You got it.
I need to excuse myself.
And thank you. Good luck. Any other comments or questions on this?
And just when you look at the square footage, it's the house square footage, the garage, and the basement. So it's 3,600. If that's what you're using. It's pretty easy to come up with. It's pennies.
Yeah, we just show it as a minimum, and there's, at the bottom, we'll be saying that it's 31 cents a square foot.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? I like the fact that it's going in the right direction and it promotes more business in the village. This is from 17,850 as a cap, now we're down to 15,333. So making a reduction in our permit fees from where they've been. Any discussion? No?
I have a question. But
Okay, go ahead.
No, it's all right. I think we figured it out.
Oh, you figured it out? You don't want to share your question?
And at this time, I'm going to yield my time back to you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? I hear Trustee Michaels, but this is, we're taking genuine steps in the right direction, and I think it's, yeah. Okay?
For general business, it has to be.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so the next item is in conjunction with that. So as we made some changes to those fees, that's updating the fee schedule actually. There's two items that are changing. Well, actually, we are proposing, since we do not currently have them in our fee schedule. First one is masquerading. We do not currently have a fee for masquerading within the village. We tried to do look around to see if anybody does them. It's all over the place. Some are percentages of the total cost of masquerading. Majority are in this range of a size that's just a flat fee under the 2 acres or over. So what's being proposed is the $500 for under 2 acres and $1,000 as a flat fee for over 1,000 or 2 acres. There isn't a lot from community development as far as inspections go for the masquerading portion. So that's the first one that's being proposed as a new one. We also currently do not have a solar field, garden, or farm installation permit fee. We just have it for residential on homes. So what we looked at was what surrounding communities are doing. Not a lot of them have these. So we asked Progressive as well, because they do a lot of the solar field type installations. And this is actually what they brought from what California uses for a lot of their solar field and farms, is a fee based on the sizes of the fields. So that is there's 2 new fees that are being proposed, and then the remaining changes are just the changes that were just discussed as far as impact fees were concerned. So those are the only 2 that were new to amend the fee schedule at this current moment. We will be addressing anything else further when we do this at budget time in April, but these were the main concerns right now.
To note on the solar field fee, we would need to bring in a consultant to do that type of inspection. That's just not that large of an install. That's not something that our staff has the expertise to be able to inspect. So that's one where with it of that size, we would need some outside help on that one. So that's why that fee is more than that. And the masquerading, I wanted to note that a lot of work with that is really the engineering costs, and those are typically done by escrow and per hour. So we're not looking to reclaim the engineering costs in the masquerading fee.
Right, in the solar field, we are.
In the solar field, we'd be looking to recapture the cost from the inspector. Correct.
Okay.
what about some water impact fee? We've been fortunate that we have enough water, but I know Montgomery, Oswego, and Yorkville are looking at tapping on the Chicago water. Do we need to look at that? I think, especially with $350, $3 million we have to charge. We're going to be charged to relocate the water mains along 47. Might be a way to recoup some of our costs.
That actually came up in EEI's water study. Basically, that wasn't, tapping it through Aurora was not a need or viable solution.
Yeah, these guys are going into the city of Chicago or getting Lake Michigan water. I don't know what other improvements we need, but like the $3 million that we have coming with the relocation of the water main, way to get back some of that money.
I think the other thing that, the way I look at that too, is I totally hear what he's saying, but as the village grows and we have more residents come into the village and they're paying water rates, right? We're increasing our water revenue through new payers. And it is I mean, you just made an argument about not having fees that's potentially, in my mind, you want fees to be fair and equitable. If you do that, Crown doesn't have that in their permit fee structure. So at some level, it would be a disservice to new developers coming into the village and paying water tap-on fee to serve and to replace a pipe that serves existing residents because we need a revenue source. So I would say, well, Matt, you can feel free to tell me if I'm out of line on this one with the number, but I'm pretty certain we have the funds to cover the water main replacement and movement along 47, while I know staff is looking at other avenues, potentially would be a low interest IUP loan potentially, and you're looking creatively at ways to do that. It's really the second trigger that causes the problem, which is really Maple, and when that has to be replaced, because that's another $3 million project. So while we do have some big capital projects with water, I think it's hard to then put that on top of a permit fee for new users. That takes it out of line from this permit fee structure, and we're trying to bring the two closer together. And you're going to get more water revenue with water rate payers as new development happens.
Well, I go back, I oppose giving Crown that credit and not charging them more, and I think we're doing developers a service by having water available, and they don't have to go out and drill a well or make significant improvements to our water system. So I think it's equitable, and I don't want to put the burden back onto our residents by raising rates. So I think the one way to do it is to charge an impact fee to new developers that are tapping onto our system, just like Fox Metro does.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay, Matt, if you can bring this back to, and we'll see what the board says. Up next, we have the employee performance evaluation forms for 24, Matt.
Yes, so as we have been going through our evaluations, this form predates me. I'm not sure how long ago before it was actually updated. As you can see, on the last page of this agenda item, that's what we used to use. And what we have done is I've looked around from surrounding communities, seen what they've used. I've talked with Scott, even actually probably before Scott actually physically started with the village, and we met talking about just what are some of the things that we want to look at changing, and this was one of them, using employee evaluations that are tied to kind of metrics as well as goals, rather than just straight goals. So this is really just a discussion if there's comments from the board on updating our current performance evaluation policy and forms to this new form, to begin using that, because our evaluations have been changed and will start to be due by the end of this year, because we do them for calendar years, to have them ready for budget time. So So open for
Open for
discussion.
And as a refresher and reminder, a few years back, before we did an overall on the comprehensive plan, the compensation plan for employees, we were tasked with pay increases, COLA, things like that, with absolutely no data on any evaluations. So then we started receiving our evaluations because department heads weren't evaluated, and then we were getting those evaluations as a way to go into executive session to discuss compensation and merit based on that. So this is really for your review to say, what things do you want to see the department heads put on paper, and what do you want out of Scott in evaluating our department heads, because that's really what we're gonna see. And then the other component of it is ensuring that the staff, our department heads, like using this form, and your feedback is our department heads have all provided feedback on whether they like this form, because they have to use it for their staff. So what do you want to see when you're in executive session discussing our department heads? Does this do it for you? Do you want changes made to it? Because then we'll bring it back year over year, and you can see the changes that have been made or not that were in place.
I think it's an upgrade. Thank you for taking the time, and staff for doing that. Staff works really hard, so I know this is probably something that they had to work alongside of everything else they're doing, so thank you very much for that. I think it's whatever makes you guys are comfortable. Myself as a board member, if you guys are the ones that are running your employees, you need to do as long as it's fair and equitable across the board. Everybody's using the same sheet, being graded at the same level, or the same, what's it called, the same standards. Thank you. I'm good with it. And attorney's taking a look at it, and I'm assuming making sure there's nothing in there that's.
She will.
Yeah.
Discussion to see if it's even, like, this is the form that we even want to go forward.
The only thing that struck me was that you asked for comments, and if you gave a 5, a 1, or a 2. How can we encourage them to give a 3 or a 4?
So that was for me, and I would still encourage comments from a 3 or 4, but if you do give a 5, a 2, or a 1, I might need comments from that. And that stems from my past as a supervisor of supervisors, where I would get reviews from employees and they give them all 5s, and it doesn't say why they're getting all 5s. And it makes me crazy, because I said, if they're that good, you need to tell me what they've done this year to be that good. And if there's a problem, I also need to know that, because I need to know what actions we're taking to correct those problems. If it's a 3 or a 4, I would encourage and like to get comments back, but I wouldn't necessarily have to comment on every single item. That's why I asked that to be included. Sorry if it was a little confusing, but if you're exceptional, I want to know why as well, because I get to interact with all the frontline staff as often.
The only thing I would say with these reviews, my only 2 cents of it is, as an employee and you're getting reviewed, right, we don't want to tell you you're doing too great, right, because that would mean that we're going to pay you more. So on some level, it's really, I don't know that it's a fair assessment when you have a number system. While this is antiquated, with the way we described things before, it did get filled out with detail. I'd like to think that you all were doing it for your staff with, whether it be certain areas that they excelled in a year and certain areas they needed to work on. But when you put a numeric number to someone, they feel like, one, I can never attain the 5. I can never really get there, because, right, there's always room for improvement and things that I can work on, as anyone can. So I feel on some level, an employee gets an evaluation like that, and they're like, well, here we go again, I'm never going to get a 5. And I'm not a fan of the number system personally. I like that you give examples and you show growth, but I'm sure other communities are doing this. It's just my 2 cents.
And as an employee that gets yearly evals done, this is common. And the numbers are associated with the standards, it's not like I'm getting a number 1. A number 1 just means I'm unsatisfactory. So I think for the last 20 years I've been graded with numbers, but it's the numbers don't mean anything. It's just exceed standards or achieve standards, and then there's no monetary payout included, like attached.
It's not.
Right.
But at the same time, we do look at that.
when we talk about our department head's compensation in executive session at the end. So there is a benefit to going through this and being like, well, they didn't, they're holding steady at 3s or 4s.
Well, they're not holding steady at 3s, they're holding steady at achieved standards. The words, not the numbers. So the numbers is just, so they're grading them on what the number means. So when we sit down and look at it and they have 3 3s, it's not 3s, it's that all 3 areas are achieved standards.
So the numbers
that's your
are
baseline.
shorthand.
I'm guessing him and I are probably, you get.
Yeah, the numbers
so
are
just the 3 of
shorthand,
us.
yeah.
Do you give yourself a yearly email?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't get an email, so, yeah, I think it's pretty.
Well, my husband does, and I've seen the
Right.
way they do it, and it
Well,
is.
sales, yeah.
It is, but it's also a way to also hold people back. So when I say you're looking at these from a standpoint of how we compensate our department heads at the end of the year, is everybody getting, COLA pay increases if they achieve their standard? Like, you did your job.
Well, achieved standard should be the baseline, right, Scott? I mean, that's the standard, anything below standard, or number 1 is unacceptable, and then anything above, so 4 and 5, not thinking numbers, just think it exceeds or exceptional.
And I would hope that if
That's
you are
how I
giving an employee a 2 or a 1, that this is not when they're seeing it.
If I'm given a review and the first time the employee saw it was a 2 or a 1, unless it happened like a month before the review, I'd have an issue with the supervisor saying, why haven't you already addressed this throughout the year? Absolutely.
And my world, when you are retaining people or if you have to let people go, there's a seniority list of, well, the 1s and the 2s, you're already working on either getting them up to a 3 or working them out. But there's a list of at 3, newest to senior, at 4, newest to senior, at 5, newest to senior. So as retention, you're keeping the 5s, always keeping the 5s. But unless there's a bonus or anything related to that, which in sales, there would be a bonus.
But it is too for our department heads, we have it listed for, I guess I look at this in twofold. This is 2 ways. You have your department heads who are evaluating their staff. And then we're looking at this as an evaluation tool as a board for department heads. And that's really what we're pressed with when it comes in front of us, is it's really tied to compensation for this review. That's what we want it for. That's what it's coming in front of us for.
I know in a certain therapeutic hospital, I think they get X amount of dollars for raises, and wherever you're at 3, 4, 5, I believe that it's a percentage of that. Like you've got a however many cents an hour increase for 3, 4, 5. But like the 5s are rare, very rare. It's usually 3s and 4s.
Considering that they're all sitting here, I'm sure they understand now what it means.
Now you know what we want.
It's not like somebody takes the numbers and does an average and say this is your score. It's
No, I
very
get that.
specific.
I
I mean,
get
it's shorthand
I will
for they
say,
substitute that word.
some of these, when I did surveys, that's how they did it.
Really?
Because they actually took it, there was a calculation at the end, and it averaged it out, and then it was based on whatever your average score was, gave you a certain amount of percentage. But again, that would lock the board into saying, what is that?
Yeah.
I took that part out.
Yeah,
Because of that concern, but yeah, that is somehow, some people were doing it, they were taking it and taking an average of all the scores to give them, if you're in certain ranges, you got certain percentages.
Okay, because I've not encountered that, because certain tasks that you're asked for, some are more important depending on what role you're playing at that time than others, so.
Right.
And the other thing about just going off the numbers and the average of the numbers, it doesn't incorporate the goals and other items at the end, which I think are just as important, if not more in some cases, to the overall performance.
Agreed.
So for the most part, everyone is good with the document.
I'm good.
Could you remove, for you, Madam President, where it says rating instead of a number, would you want it just to say like exceed standards? Instead of put in the number, does that matter?
And I think that's the part that threw me was the rating. You're rating this employee based on it. It's fine. It's fine.
I already have a note to remove the numbers.
I mean, right, it's not, next to job knowledge, you could just put rating would be, for me, would be exceptional. So you could just write exceptional there instead of number 5. There would be no new percentage.
I have that note to make that change before it comes back next.
Okay. Thank you all for the discussion. Up next is the item I, the 2024 proposed property tax levy announcement. Matt?
All right, so time to announce the tax year 2024 levy. As proposed, what we are looking at is, again, as we did last year, is a 0% increase on the current EAV and just doing the amount to capture new construction. So based on that recommendation, it is a 1.73% increase in total. What we anticipate is about a 1.42 increase. But we do leave that out there because we only have estimated new construction EAV from the county at this time. And we won't know that generally until December or January, what the final new construction is. So we do leave a little room on that. But with the 1.42, how the county does it, it's based on a strict dollar amount. So if the new construction doesn't change, the 27,968 would be increased from last year's aggregation. That was extended for the levy. Any questions on the general fund levy? The next is Mallard Point Rolling Oaks. That's just the special assessment. That does not change. It's a flat dollar amount per unit based on Rolling Oaks and or Mallard Point. So that is in there as special assessment for number 17 and the amount of $75,218.92. And the last one is SSA number 10. So we actually have not levied anything on there since 2016. When it was put into place, the amount of taxes were maxed out for how much they were paying. Once all the work was done and it was just down to the maintenance of the retention and the storm water and everything, the amount was far exceeding how much it was annually. So we stopped levying the taxes for those, used the reserve to bring down that money. But we are at a point where we have now used that money over the last 8 years. So what we did is I looked at the SSA when it was enacted, and it is a percentage base, but you can change the percentage. It's just a max number. So what we did is we looked at how much we anticipate based on the 15 pins. I think it was 15. Yes, 15 pins that are currently in that SSA. Their EAV, we did a basis based on last year's EAV and how much we anticipate the cost for the maintenance, which is about 10 to 12.5 a year. So instead of it being the 50 cents per 100 of EAV, we are proposing the SSA to levy at 20 cents per EAV, per 100 of EAV. That will give us enough money next year to do the maintenance. So this would come back now to being an annual tax levy since we have now used all those reserves.
Any questions? Okay, I would like to formally announce the 2024 estimated proposed property tax levy in the amount of $2,007,364. Also the special assessment for SBA number 17 for the Mallard Point Rolling Oaks levy in the amount of $75,218.92. And the special service area number 10 at 20 cents per $100 in EAV.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this will come back, so not the next meeting, it'll come back in December for approval. Generally, we announce it in November. We do not need a truth and taxation hearing. That's normally what we do at the second meeting in November, but we are not going over 5% of the prior year, so.
Can we do that under general discussion items?
No, it's just an announcement.
No, so.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's not an approval, you just have to announce it in a public meeting of what you're planning to levy.
Sure.
And then once it comes back.
And I thank you for the graphic, because for those that do pull our packet, I think it was helpful to see the detail. And you did a very nice job explaining it, because I know the property tax levy for many, and every single year it's a refresher again for us, but it's complicated, so thank
I thought
you.
you meant the pictures.
Thank you, Matt. What?
I thought you meant the pictures.
Yeah, of course. Description with the picture. Okay, that concludes our discussion items. Thank you all for getting through all of that rather quickly. So we'll move on to staff report. Scott.
My report's in your packet. I did want to thank Danny specifically for the hard work on Sutton's Ridge. That was quite a lot to pull together and get the information out in a timely manner, and a lot of people to organize and David to get back, and she presented very well, and she kept me very informed through the whole process. So I just wanted to thank her specifically.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions for Scott? Thank you. Up next, Matt. Anything to add?
No, nothing more.
Does anyone have any questions for Matt? No, very good. Thank you. Danny,
Nothing to add.
anyone have any questions for Danny? Thank you. Chief Rollins.
I just wanted to highlight the top item, and the thing was that we had a promotion that occurred since our last meeting. Roman became the deputy chief, which opened up the sergeant level position. The Board of Police Commissioners met, reviewed the file. He was the last member on the promotional list, and they decided to promote him based on what they saw. So he was promoted on the 17th, I believe. We may keep the copy later on, but the board usually.
So Eric has been a patrol officer on overnight shifts, so midnights. And how long has he been with the village? It's been quite some time. 17 years. Yes, very patient. So congratulations to him. That's very exciting. Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief? No, thank you. Brad.
But I made mention that the solar is on, I think they're all done.
Perfect. Thank you. So when are we going to start seeing savings?
I don't see the electric bills.
Man. All right, we look forward to that. First one, and you see a difference. Any questions for Matt? I'm sorry.
I'm excited to see that there is progress being made on the bridge. My neighbors go down there and just kind of check and see what's going on, and there is progress being made. We're all very excited.
So Dee's tentative schedule is to finish the abutments and the stabilization of the bank before winter, and then kind of walk away from the project until spring when the bridge is built. So
Okay.
we're obviously scheduled to pour concrete this week with the weather's coming.
Did they get it all formed up? I mean, with the
low
low
water. I
water?
haven't been down there since like last Wednesday, and they had pilings all driven in, and they were starting to form. They poured concrete Saturday. I think it was just the footings up. So I think they're gonna frame the rest of the abutments.
With the low water, that make things a little easier.
Thank you, Brad. Michael.
Thank you. As you may know, I represent the village at the Royal Area CBD Board of Directors. Was asked to help lead a small group to pick a consulting firm to create a strategic plan, for the Bureau. We did select a firm. They'll begin their work, I think, in December, finishing Q3 of 2025. And that will include an evaluation on tourism opportunities in each of the communities that the Bureau represents. Secondly, when I came into the Bureau, they had 10 communities they represented. Elburn recently added, became number 11, and last night Geneva became number 12. Geneva has a pretty substantial hotel and tourism footprint, so that's a big addition. And finally, after a long negotiation, the Bureau signed a long-term agreement with the City of Aurora, which guarantees their funding over a 5-year period. So keep you updated, but very pleased with the direction the Bureau is going.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions for Michael? Hearing none. Trustee reports, Trustee Michaels.
Sounds like the trunk or treat was successful at the township, so congratulations to them for getting that done and established. Good turnout.
It was a great turnout, yeah. Thank you. Trustee White.
It was a great turnout. I will not be at the next meeting. I'll be doing an evaluation of my business from Thailand. So, wish you all well. And the weather
You've got all fives and you're on vacation. Who evaluated you? Anyway, have a great trip. Have a great trip.
Is that right? Yeah, now it's a great opportunity. That's all.
All right. Trustee Lindy,
I have nothing.
thank you. Trustee Hamer.
Just a couple comments for Chief. The trick or treating with the police department was very popular in our neighborhood. Kids were very excited, always a great opportunity to interact with children around the community. Also, we had Judge Parga and the state's attorney give a presentation to students at the middle school, and multiple times she talked about specifically Investigator Taylor and the Sugar Grove Police Department and how well they were to work with. So just kudos to you for the great things that you're doing in the police department. Thank you. That's
Thank you. Trustee Bonner.
I just want to echo Trustee Herron. The kids in my neighborhood loved the police car driving through, and stopping and talking, and that was awesome. So thank you very much. Hopefully get a little bit of vacation soon since you got somebody now. So enjoy.
vacation where you leave your phone put away.
He doesn't know how to do that.
Thank you. Under President's report this evening, so I'm just going to echo that. The no tricks, just treats. I want to thank not only the staff in the house for helping bag up some of our treats, but also Chief Rollins for being there on Saturday with your son and setting up one of our police cars, and the kids had a good time climbing in them. And many parents were advising that they don't spend much time in the back seat, which was great. So it was a great event. This is just another one of those opportunities of collaboration with the other taxing bodies and Kiwanis, which we were involved with. For the first time that they did it, it was highly successful, and it didn't hurt that we had great weather. So that was really good. The groundbreaking for the bridge, I'm sorry not everybody could come. It was a last minute thing too that we did. So the ribbon cutting in the springtime will be bigger and better and more celebratory. But we did have 3 of the taxing bodies there that partnered in the bridge crossing. And it's just nice to see the years of work that went into it with prior boards and staff, and see everybody there excited to see something that sometimes takes many, many, many years to get across the hurdle. So that was good. I did get to meet the new chamber director, so looking forward to some progress with our Chamber of Commerce and events that they plan and growing their chamber in general. And now they have an actual, although she is very part-time, I would say, executive director, that they do have a paid executive director to manage the chamber. So look forward to all of that. And then Friday this week, Chief and I and the Attorney General, I believe, right? We're doing our 2 senior events to talk about frauds and scams and seeing an uptick in that. She can probably speak to that, but we're bringing awareness to some of our senior population. So we're going to be doing that on Friday. So that's all I have. Thank you all. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Thank you.
Second.
I have a first on Trustee Herron and a second on Trustee Bonnie. Roll call, please.
Trustee Herron?
No.
Trustee Bonnie?
Yes.
Trustee Michaels?
Yes.
Trustee White?
No.
Trustee Lindy? Aye.
Motion passes 3-2.